Ever notice how stupidity often seems confident while wisdom stays quiet? We live in a world where volume is mistaken for intelligence and arrogance hides behind fake certainty. People argue not to understand, but to win. They speak louder, not wiser. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is mistaken, correct them kindly, if you cannot, bear with them." Because the Stoics knew this truth, you cannot reason with arrogance disguised as knowledge. You can only protect your peace, clarity, and time. In this video, we'll explore 8 clear signs of a truly foolish person. How to recognize them, how to avoid becoming like them, and how to handle stupidity with calm mastery. Because fighting fools drains your energy, understanding them sharpens your wisdom. Stay until the end. The last sign might reveal something about you. First, they speak more than they think. There's a reason the Stoics valued silence as much as courage. Because a fool reveals himself not by what he knows, but by what he cannot stop saying. We've all met someone like that. The person who fills every pause with noise. Who mistakes constant talking for confidence. They don't ask questions. They don't reflect. They speak only to prove they exist. But Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, once said, "Better to stumble with the feet than with the tongue." Words are powerful tools, but in undisciplined hands, they become weapons against others and eventually against themselves. A person who talks more than they think isn't just careless with speech. They're careless with perception. They miss what's said between the lines. They mistake noise for knowledge, speed for insight, and volume for intelligence. The fool talks to be heard. The wise talk to understand. And the Stoic speaks only when silence no longer serves. Because for the Stoic, silence isn't emptiness. It's mastery. It's the moment between impulse and control, where truth gathers its weight before being spoken. That pause, that sacred gap, is where wisdom lives. Watch how easily people betray themselves when they speak too quickly. They reveal insecurity behind arrogance, fear behind certainty, and ignorance behind confidence. They don't listen because listening means admitting they don't already know. They fill the air with noise to drown out the discomfort of not being the smartest person in the room. But wisdom begins right there. In that discomfort, in that humility to say, "Maybe I don't know yet." A fool avoids silence because in silence he would have to face himself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." The Stoics treated words as moral acts, not casual noise. They believed speech should serve truth or remain unspoken. Every word is a promise, a reflection of your discipline, clarity, and self-control. That's why wise people often speak less. They're busy observing, refining, choosing. When a Stoic finally speaks, his words carry weight because they are forged in restraint. Look at our modern world. Everyone has a platform, but few have purpose. People speak to be seen, not to contribute. They argue not to learn, but to win. Outrage becomes entertainment, and loudness becomes currency. But the Stoic doesn't compete in that arena. He values presence over performance. When others rush to speak, he waits. When they demand a reaction, he breathes. He knows silence unsettles the insecure because silence cannot be argued with. Imagine this, 2 people in a heated argument. One shouts, waves his hands, desperate to prove he's right. The other listens quietly, speaks once, and ends it. Which one looks stronger? Which one has control? That's the difference between noise and power. Control is silent. Strength doesn't shout. A disciplined tongue is sharper than any insult. The Stoic doesn't need to win arguments. He wins himself. In a world that rewards reaction, restraint becomes rebellion. Don't let noise trick you into thinking it means something. Don't mistake confidence for clarity or speech for strength. Speak only when your words add value, not volume. Because wisdom doesn't rush, it resonates. And silence, when chosen deliberately, speaks louder than any speech ever could. Silence is not weakness. It's control. Second, they get offended by truth. A fool doesn't fear lies. He fears the truth that exposes him. Truth has a strange power. It doesn't wound the body. It wounds the ego. Tell a fool something honest, and you'll see how quickly he turns red. How fast his pride rushes to defend itself. He'll attack your tone, your motives, your right to speak, anything to avoid the mirror that truth holds up. Because admitting you're wrong requires strength, and strength is something a fool refuses to build. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone corrects you and shows you your mistake, consider it a gift." The wise see truth as a form of love, a mirror that reveals what we can improve. But to the stupid, truth is an insult. They don't want accuracy. They want approval. They prefer comfort over clarity, flattery over freedom. They'd rather hear a sweet lie than face a hard truth. That's why they surround themselves with echoes. People who never challenge them only confirm them. Their entire identity is a house of cards built on fragile validation. One gust of truth and it collapses. You'll see this everywhere. Someone offers honest feedback, not to hurt but to help. And suddenly the fool grows cold, defensive, angry. "You're being negative," they'll say. Or, "Who are you to judge me?" They twist the truth until it sounds like an attack, just to protect their pride. But the Stoic doesn't play that game. He doesn't waste energy convincing those who refuse to see. He lets truth stand on its own because the truth doesn't need defenders. It only needs time. Seneca warned, "No man heals by denying his wound." The fool covers his pain with pride, hoping no one notices. The wise face it, clean it, and grow stronger. It's the same with truth. The longer you avoid it, the deeper the rot becomes. But when you face it, you grow beyond it. For the Stoic, truth is not a weapon. It's medicine. And though it stings at first, it saves you in the end. If you speak truth and they get angry, remember it's not you they're fighting, it's reality. Let them rage. Let them twist. Don't argue. You have nothing to prove. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Let their reaction reveal who they are. The wise don't trade peace for the illusion of winning. They don't chase being right. They aim to be free. In a world that worships comfort, truth becomes rebellion. To speak honestly without cruelty, to listen without defense, to face correction without shame, that is the discipline of the Stoic. You can't control whether people accept the truth, but you can control whether you stay composed when they reject it. And that's real power. Calm in the face of chaos. Clarity in the storm of emotion. Truth hurts the ego, not the wise. Third, they blame everyone but themselves. Nothing keeps a person weaker for longer than the habit of pointing fingers at others. A fool always has a reason, an enemy, someone else to blame. It's never their fault. Their family, boss, government, the system, the universe. They believe life itself is conspiring against them, when in reality it's their refusal to take responsibility that traps them. The Stoics saw this centuries ago. The moment you start blaming, you give away your power, because the person you blame becomes the one controlling you. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's the essence of Stoicism, radical ownership. That doesn't mean taking every misfortune as if it's your fault. It means making your reactions your own. The fool wastes energy wishing the world were fair. The Stoic accepts the world as it is and manages the choices within it. Responsibility is freedom, because it's the only thing you truly have. You see this pattern everywhere. Someone fails at something and immediately blames the circumstances. Timing was wrong, people weren't supportive, I never had a chance. But beneath those excuses is fear, the fear of facing their own weaknesses. Blaming the world is easier than fixing yourself. That's why fools stay in the same place for years. They've built their own prisons and decorated them with reasons. Fourth, a Stoic doesn't waste breath. They examine mistakes like a scientist examines a specimen, with curiosity, without shame, without denial. What did I do? What can I learn? What could I do differently? This mindset turns pain into progress. Every mistake is raw material for mastery. Seneca said, "Fate guides the willing and drags along the unwilling." The fool is dragged through life shouting and kicking, blaming everything. The Stoic, however, faces challenges willingly, knowing this truth. What you accept, you can control. What you resist, controls you. When you encounter someone who constantly blames others, stay calm. Don't argue. Don't try to rescue them from their story. They don't want solutions, they want sympathy. You can't wake someone pretending to sleep. Let them talk. Let them project, and step away lightly, because their storms aren't your responsibility. The Stoic knows that peace begins where blame ends. If you catch yourself falling into this trap, pause. Don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What can I do about this?" One question can turn a setback into strength. The world will never always be fair. People will lie, betray, and disappoint. But that's their domain, not yours. Yours is how you rise, how you endure, and how you stay in control when chaos knocks at your door. Blaming is easy. Growing is hard. One makes you a victim, the other makes you strong. Choose strength. Take responsibility. Not because you're guilty, but because you can. Fools make excuses. Stoics find action. And that difference draws the line between pain and power. Blaming weakens. Responsibility rebuilds. Nothing exposes ignorance faster than arrogance. A fool believes he already knows everything he needs to. He listens only to reply, not to understand. Every conversation becomes a competition, every correction a personal attack. He defends his mistakes rather than overcoming them. The tragedy is that he mistakes pride for strength, when pride is the lock that blocks wisdom. Seneca once wrote, "We learn as long as we teach." The Stoics knew that the wisest minds are the most open-minded. True intelligence isn't rigid. It's flexible, adaptable, absorbent, and resilient. The fool, on the other hand, builds walls of certainty. He hears advice and calls it criticism. He hears truth and calls it disrespect. The more you try to guide him, the more he resists, clinging to the illusion of being right. In his world, learning means admitting flaws, and his ego cannot bear it. You've probably met people like this. The coworker who rejects every idea. Who asks for help but argues with every answer. You can't reach them, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack humility. And humility is the soil in which all learning grows. Without it, every truth slides off the surface like a stone. The fool stays dry, unaffected, unchanged, the wise absorb every drop. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong, I gladly change, for what I seek is truth, not pride." That's the Stoic way, the courage to be corrected. Wisdom comes not from always being right, but from being willing to adjust when wrong. The fool clings to his ideas as if they define his worth. The Stoic holds his ideas loosely, knowing truth is discovered, not declared. Fifth, they seek attention, not growth. There's a strange sickness in our age. People no longer want to be good, they just want to look good. They chase the spotlight as if approval could replace self-respect. The fool measures his worth by applause, likes, and who's watching. His effort isn't to build, it's to impress. He performs his life, always waiting for the next round of validation. But the Stoics knew that chasing attention is the fastest way to lose yourself. The more you want to be seen, the less clearly you see. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Seeking others' approval gains you nothing." Even as an emperor, he understood that reputation is a fragile shadow. It moves with light, not truth. The Stoic doesn't live to be admired, he lives in alignment with his values. He does what's right, even when no one's watching. The fool acts only when there's an audience. Remove the spectators, and he loses motivation. His life collapses when it isn't witnessed. Attention is addictive because it imitates love. But love strengthens, attention consumes. The fool confuses the two and returns for more, another post, another like, another hollow salute. He erodes his soul bit by bit. The Stoic sees the illusion. External praise is smoke. It rises quickly and disappears. You can't build peace on smoke. Look around. Every opinion becomes a performance. Every achievement, every announcement. People share progress, they don't accomplish it. They chase the image of wisdom, not its practice. They want followers, not growth. But Stoicism teaches, you either quietly build character, or loudly destroy it. True transformation happens when no one is watching. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The fool suffers from the fantasy of fame. He imagines himself admired, envied, worshipped. But it's all a fantasy. True growth needs no witnesses. It requires discipline, consistency, and silence. The Stoic wakes and asks, what can I do better today? Not, who will notice? The reward is progress, not praise. When you no longer crave recognition, you become unstoppable. No one can manipulate someone who doesn't seek applause. Criticism no longer shakes you, approval no longer feeds you. You stand on something deeper, your own integrity. This kind of power can't be bought, borrowed, or displayed. So stop chasing eyes that won't see tomorrow. Build something real. Every day, perform a silent act of excellence no one sees. Let your work speak when you don't. Because a Stoic doesn't need to prove who he is. He quietly shows it through action. Fools chase applause. The wise chase progress. Sixth, they repeat their mistakes and call it experience. The fool loves to say, I've been through this before, as if repeating something makes it wisdom. But making the same mistake twice is not experience, it's stubbornness disguised as maturity. The fool doesn't learn, he merely survives. He hits the same walls, blames the same people, feels the same pain, and still thinks he's wiser. True wisdom is measured not by how much pain you endure, but by how much that pain changes you. Seneca said, to err is human, to persist in error is foolish. Every failure contains a lesson, but the fool refuses to look inside. He wraps his mistakes in excuses, that's just how I am, or, I guess it's my luck. The Stoic examines mistakes like mirrors, not to punish, but to understand. Every misstep, studied, becomes a map to a better path. Think about it, how many people repeat the same patterns in relationships, work, or habits? They always choose comfort over openness, pride over progress. They change the scenery, but not themselves. Partners, jobs, routines, they switch them, yet face the same problems. The fool runs in circles, thinking movement is growth. The Stoic walks a straight line, reflects, adjusts, and moves on. The universe keeps teaching the same lesson until it's learned. Life doesn't punish, it repeats. What looks like bad luck is often unfinished learning. The fool sees hardship as misfortune, the Stoic sees it as curriculum. The difference is humility, the willingness to say, I created this, and I can change it. This is how pain becomes power. Marcus Aurelius said, what stands in your way becomes the way. Mistakes are not detours, they are the main path. The fool stumbles and returns every time. He refuses discomfort and never reaches new ground. To him, pain is proof of failure, to the Stoic, proof of training. If you find yourself facing the same disappointment repeatedly, stop. Don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what am I still refusing to learn? One question can end years of repetition. The fool repeats until life breaks him. The Stoic learns until wisdom recreates him. In modern culture, people glorify endurance, I've been through a lot, and I'm still standing. Stoicism asks, I've been through a lot, have I changed? Survival is not strength if it leaves you the same. The goal isn't to stand tall in the storm, but to enter wise and emerge wiser. Stop calling repetition experience. Reflect, adapt, grow. Every mistake either repeats your past or shapes your future. The choice is yours. Mistakes teach only if you listen. Seventh, they confuse confidence with competence. The fool mistakes volume, certainty, and boldness for skill. He believes speaking confidently equals being right. The louder he talks, the more convinced he is. Confidence alone is intoxicating, it feels powerful even when you're lost. But the Stoics warned, false confidence is just ignorance in a costume. Someone who has never doubted themselves has never questioned themselves. Epictetus said, "A man cannot learn what he thinks he already knows." The fool clings to certainty like armor, but it's a cage. Every "I know" closes the door to growth. He claims, he declares, he doesn't test, he proclaims. He seeks approval, not truth. That's why fools fall the hardest. Pride rises without a foundation. The higher the confidence, the lower the competence. You see it everywhere, in workplaces, politics, online. People speak with certainty about things they barely understand. They quote headlines as if they were scientists, shout opinions as if they were facts. Modern society rewards confidence more than competence. Stoics never confuse the two. Real knowledge makes you humble, not loud. The more you truly understand, the more you realize what you don't know. The fool fears uncertainty. "I'm not sure" feels weak. The Stoic embraces it, because doubt is where wisdom grows. True confidence is quiet, nothing needs proving. A master craftsman doesn't praise his tools, he lets his work speak. The wise don't announce their power, they show it through subtlety, calm, and results. Marcus Aurelius said, "Take pride, but do not cling to it." The Stoic does not chase superiority, he chases truth. He prefers correction over comfort. Learning something new matters more than winning an argument. The fool confuses ego with identity. Challenging his ideas feels like attacking his self. So he defends his ignorance as fiercely as a king guards his throne. Confidence without competence is fragile illusion. The world demands proof, then the fool has only excuses left. The Stoic is ready. Builds quietly, practices constantly, questions endlessly. Confidence is earned, not displayed. That's why it lasts. In a noisy world where everyone wants to look certain, humility is rare power. Be willing to say, "I don't know." Be curious to learn. Let competence, not confidence, be your reputation. A Stoic needs not to appear right, but to be right. Confidence without reason is pride. 8. They mistake loudness for strength. The fool believes that shouting his thoughts makes them true. Aggression becomes confidence, volume becomes decisiveness, dominance becomes power. Instead of seeking clarity, he forces control. Every disagreement becomes a battle, every conversation a stage. But the louder he speaks, the less anyone listens. Power built on noise isn't power, it's insecurity trying to look important. Seneca said, "What angers you conquers you." The fool doesn't get it. He thinks quick reactions are victories, raising his voice keeps him in control. Stoics taught the opposite, self-control is the highest power. Staying calm when others lose it, maintaining control when provoked, that is mastery. Anger burns fast and leaves ashes. Calm endures. You see it everywhere today, social media, politics, daily life. People shout without listening, mistake anger for courage. But anger is not power, it's surrender. Giving your peace to anyone who can trigger you. The fool lives as a puppet to his emotions, pulled by every insult, attack, or contrary opinion. The Stoic cuts the strings. He knows silence disturbs the insecure far more than any argument. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." This is how the Stoic responds. Instead of answering with noise, he raises standards. The fool shouts, the Stoic breathes. The fool wants to be heard, the Stoic listens. The fool wants to win, the Stoic wants to understand. True power needs no announcement. It shows in calm, self-control, and unshakable clarity. In a world where people lose their composure easily, they shout, insult, pound tables, and think they've won. But the only thing they lose is self-control. The Stoic knows calm is not passivity. It's a strategy. Standing still enough that chaos exposes itself. Quiet is power. Want to test your strength? Stay calm when provoked. Listen when you want to shout. Let go when you want to prove everything. That's where true power lies. In the space between reaction and response, the fool reacts, the Stoic decides. In a world that mistakes noise for leadership, be the quiet one who thinks deeply, acts wisely, and speaks rarely. While others burn in their clamor, grow in your calm. Storms make noise, mountains endure them. Calm is the greatest power. The Stoics taught that foolishness is not lack of knowledge, but lack of control. Every sign of a fool stems from the same root, an ego unaware. Talking too much, fearing truth, blaming others, refusing to learn, chasing attention, repeating mistakes, confusing confidence with skill, mistaking noise for power, they are all symptoms of a mind ruled by pride. But pride and wisdom cannot coexist. Living like a Stoic is practicing the opposite: listen more, speak less, learn constantly, act with purpose, and stay calm when others lose themselves. You cannot change how fools behave, but you can choose your response. Their noise is the test of your discipline, chaos is the training ground of your peace. Don't argue with fools. Leave them behind. Let your calm speak louder than their pride. Wisdom begins where arrogance ends.